Welcome back to another episode of Reality Armchair on the Pink Emerald Media programming. Today we are covering episode 12, right? Of season 48 of Survivor. That's right. I'm pretty neutral on this episode. We've had a pretty rough week without saying much or anything at all about it. And then last night we had Taco Bell, which made both of our stomachs very upset.
That was a bad idea.
And it's just been a frustrating week. And I think that was just the cherry on top. And then Vienna kept waking up, so we couldn't even record that day. We have been bitching this entire season about a lack of plays, and a play was made.
A play was made.
I'm not happy with the play, but a play was made. So you know what? I'm a little bittersweet about it. But personally, I think it's a shitty play, but it is a play. Okay,
I guess we'll see how it works out.
Yeah, I mean, we only have one more episode to figure it out, which is I am so excited for this to finally be over. I think I've had more fun with this season than I ever could have had we not been recording. I think had we just been watching this,
it would have been rough to just watch it.
It would have been so rough.
Yeah.
And I just feel
and really, we're just making these videos for ourselves. So whether you like them or not,
pretty much
we're making them.
Yeah, and I'm just glad that we kind of set a goal to release basically a video a week. And we're definitely going to finish strong with season 48. I'm hoping next season will be good, and I'm hoping this is all building up to season 50. I feel like these two seasons, this one and the next one, aren't going to mean much within our opinions, I guess, but 50 is when shit better get real and like the show better pick up.
I'm curious. I mean, we've missed every single vote thing since the first one.
Vote? What do you mean?
Because it's the audience that is voting.
Oh, that's right. We get to pick
stuff on season 50. So we missed all of them except for the first one.
Yeah, which was
the colors.
The colors, and if they want a live show or like how you want the live show.
So who knows? I guess we'll see if it is shitty based off of voting.
Something I saw on Twitter about this episode specifically, just jumping into it real quick, is that there's basically, unless they do it next episode, which I highly doubt, there is no Survivor auction this season.
Yeah, probably not.
Which is like, you might as well skip it. It's been a shitty season.
You know, and actually, that's a good segue into what Shaheen starts talking about.
Well, we're getting ahead of ourselves. We chose.
Oh, well, okay, fine.
For the color of this episode, since we're out of colors, we did the tribes, which is green, blue, or green, purple, orange, and then blue, which is the neutral color that it is today. So on the wall, we have Silent Hill 3 soundtrack. Pretty good. It's a little underrated compared to Silent Hill 2. Obviously, that's like the cream of the crop, but still pretty good. Scarlett Johansson's Anywhere I Lay My Head. I would not recommend it to anybody, but it is a very good album. It's very like...
You wouldn't recommend it to
It's just such a specific listen, and you have to be in such a specific mood. It's folky, but it's like, I don't know, it's such a weird album.
I honestly have not listened to a single one of these albums up there, so...
That is true. And then we have Olivia Rodrigo's Sour. I'm still conflicted on if I like Guts more. And then we've got Versions of You by Rocket. I actually discovered them through an opener. They opened for Boa. One of my favorite discoveries from watching the band, which is saying a lot. I've seen a lot of openers. I feel like they're always kind of middle of the road, but they're very good.
You missed a good one when I saw Auto Heart. Pigeon Pit was
Pigeon
pretty
Pit.
good.
We actually got she got the cassette for Pigeon Pit. I couldn't make it because I had to babysit for Vienna, or watch Vienna because our babysitter.
We'll be seeing Auto Heart in November, so
we'll be seeing Auto Heart, Kendrick, Wadeka, Modest Mouse. But Rocket, very good. If you like alternative indie rock, I definitely suggest it. I'll put it up on screen, my favorite song. And if you don't like that song, then fuck you. And I don't think you would like any of the album, anything off the album.
Me specifically?
No, I think. Well, you've heard the song, and I think you're indifferent on it. I don't think you have an opinion about it, really.
I don't remember listening.
Yeah, it's on my playlist. But that being said, getting into the episode, which who was voted? Mary was voted out.
Yeah.
And what were you gonna say about Shaheen?
I didn't take any notes like after they were coming home or coming back
Not
from
much was
tribal.
said.
Yeah, so my first notes start with Shaheen. Just they read the poem about the reward challenge that's coming up, and Shaheen is like bitching about it, how it needs to be a leg based challenge, because he works so hard on his legs and he needs to get to use them at least once.
Which
And spoiler, he did not get to use them. It was not a leg
also
challenge.
he shows them off, and
He
I will
does show them
say,
off.
in comparison to how he talks about them, they look like little chicken legs.
I don't know
They're
if they look like
definitely
chicken legs.
they're
I
not
think
no
he
no
has
no
decent
they're not
legs.
chicken legs. I'm saying with how he's describing them, like you're like, oh shit, this is gonna be. It's like a guy hyping up his dick, and then it's like really small. Like that's how it feels. Because like I was looking at his legs, I'm like, bro, these are like average, not even average. They're like normal
Well,
legs.
the thing with Shaheen was he was wearing like regular length shorts, so it's not like his legs are on display like Joe's pecs that Shaheen's always talking about.
He makes a comment about it this episode as
Yes,
well,
he does.
which I forgot what it was in context of.
Um,
You probably wrote it down, right?
I actually did not write it down. I thought we were gonna talk about it right
Yeah.
after. So,
I think I know what it was though.
so I just thought, that's a good point, that these challenges have really been quite unfair, because we know that the top 4 people, or the 4 core, are very strong, and they all have these big muscly arms and great grip strength, and they've all been super strong on all of that. And I mean, David too, before he was eliminated.
Yeah, I mean obviously David, but I feel like
I just feel like it's very unfair. Like the amount of challenges that have been strength based, and especially arm strength based. Like I really truly feel like a lot of them have been that.
yeah, and I've come to the conclusion that I feel like Mitch is just like, doesn't matter how these challenges would have panned out as far as like the layout. I just don't think he's very good at the challenges.
Same with Camilla.
Same with Camilla, even though she did win last
She
episode.
won because it was spelling.
That's true. Yeah.
It was spelling and somewhat of a puzzle.
Yeah, and it was neck and neck. I mean,
It was very close.
Joe almost won that.
Joe really did almost win that. Yeah.
But that being said, like I think Mitch is just not a very good competitor. I think the only thing he was like really excelling at was when he was shooting hoops, which was like one challenge, and it was like a team challenge.
Yeah.
Other than that, I don't think I've seen him shine at all. I think he's always been in the back. I think even Eva's better than him, and I think Eva is not like that great. I think she's won once, right?
Eva won.
She won
once.
the
She won the
koala
arm.
challenge where you're holding onto a pole, which is like catered for her.
Yep. So I just feel like they really designed these challenges for kind of, I mean, they didn't know exactly who would be competing in these challenges, but usually I don't feel like they're so strength based.
Yeah,
like,
you know what's funny?
They have elements of it, but then they also have way more puzzles usually.
Yeah, I think currently the new season of Big Brother is airing right now. I think it just aired like last week or maybe 2 weeks ago. And I guess we don't watch Big Brother. We saw like 3 episodes of one season, didn't like it.
Which is why I'm confused why you're bringing it up.
Well, because I saw somebody talk about, I guess there's this thing called the arena, which is not something that's like a staple of the show. Like it doesn't happen every season. And it's basically like challenges. Like they have challenges to further advantage you in the game. And people are complaining about this implementation into the game because they don't like it, because there's like competitive beasts that just like rule the game because of this addition. And I feel like I've never really felt that with Survivor up until this season, where it's like, yeah, the people who are winning the most are at a severe advantage, because most of the time when they're winning so much, the second they lose, they're voted out.
Mm-hmm.
Like last season, we saw that scrawny guy who's horrible at the game, just like politically terrible. He could have saved himself, but he did the wrong vote because he's stupid. In the game, at least, he's maybe not stupid in real life, but I just feel like it's always a disservice to be good. And that was like Sandra's whole philosophy, was like, I'm not going to try these challenges. I'm just going to be like a low level threat because I don't want people to target me. And I think she just sucks in general at like challenges. We saw her on the Traders and she also sucked, and it didn't really benefit her in that game to suck.
But she won Survivor twice.
And I think second season I'm a little indifferent on because I feel like she only won that because Russell was on that season, and like no one wanted to vote for Russell, and the other person was a goat. So like I feel like she was handed that one low key. That's my hot take for that season. But I just think it's funny how like, you know, a lot of these shows like, you know, Survivor Challenge, you know, I feel like once there's always a dominant threat and it's not taken care of, it severely hinders the show because you're just watching like a completely different show at that point. And that's how I feel with Survivor the most right now, is because that is not what the foundation of Survivor has been. It has not been a competitive, like challenging show. It's been like a political, strategic, also implemented with like good challenge wins. Like a good example would be when what's her face, Michelle won the last challenge and made it to the final three. She would have gone home if she didn't win that challenge. So that was just perfect timing for her to win that challenge. And I think that's when challenges are great to watch.
I think it's way more exciting to watch, at least from an audience standpoint, seeing people who don't normally win, like in
Camilla.
their real life, like Camilla, when she was just like, I beat all of you guys. Like, look at you guys. I can't believe I just beat you.
Yeah.
I think it's so much more exciting, and it feels like a lot more personable when you see somebody like yourself who actually wins these challenges. Because you sit at home and you might think they look easier than they actually are, but then like these people are actually out there doing it. And if they are against these really buff, strong people, it's very unlikely they're going to win. And then they don't get that moment. Like Jeff is constantly talking about like the Survivor moment. Like, did you always dream of this moment? Like, what are you feeling right now having this happen? Like,
yeah, especially when you win.
Yeah. And that's exactly what he loves so much about the show. And I feel like this season that has been taken away from so many people. And even Shaheen, this was his first win this season. And it was a reward challenge. It wasn't even an immunity. And it's just crazy to see even somebody like Shaheen, who is fairly competitive. Like, he would probably be pretty decent had we gotten Joe, Eva, and David out early enough for other people to have won more challenges. It's just so annoying to see the same winner over and over and over.
And we should mention
again.
like this challenge that we're talking about specifically was an arm strength challenge.
Mm-hmm.
I thought Joe was probably not going to win because it is more so about body weight, and you know, obviously the lighter you weigh, the easier it's going to be for you to hold yourself up. Obviously, but like if David were on the episode, he probably would have won as well. I mean,
he probably would have won just because
he's just
the challenge
he lives in the gym.
was they had to hold themselves up on these little pegs on the side of a plank that was like angled down towards the ocean, like a slide.
Which I think they did last season or maybe 2 seasons ago.
I don't remember really seeing this challenge before, but they probably have. But usually he'll mention like if it's a brand new challenge or something. But
yeah, no, I think they definitely did it either 2 seasons ago or last season.
I don't really find it like fun to watch.
I mean, yeah, I feel like the ones where you're just like holding something is typically the least. Like, I think the worst offender was this season when they had you hold the bag up, right? Or what was it?
Hold the bag up.
You hold it with, and then David was like flexing, and it was him and Joe.
The wrist.
That challenge was it was so obnoxious because of David, but it was also already a pretty obnoxious challenge. Like, it's not fun to watch. You're just watching people hold something. I think the ones that are the most entertaining are levels where it's like, oh, you crawl through something, you like throw something,
I think,
and then you do a puzzle. Yeah, like those are the most entertaining ones.
This episode.
Yeah, even though that one wasn't very fun to watch.
No,
at least towards the end.
It's just not fun to watch somebody dominate. Like, basically,
there's been within Merge, there's been a severe lack of puzzles.
Yes.
And I think it's very unfortunate. And like I said earlier, there's no auction, meaning that there's no advantage. Meaning
people can't win food without winning a challenge or being best friends with the alliance.
Yeah.
And it's just so unfair. Like, obviously Survivor isn't going to be fair, but at least there were elements of giving chances to other people.
Yeah, there were more equalizers, and I think I think this cast specifically.
I'd actually like to bring up last season specifically because there was the auction and Rachel ended up getting the meal that had the idol clue in the fries. That was pure luck. And yeah,
That is
she
really
at the
strong.
time was on the bottom. Like
Yeah,
she was on the
she needed
bottom.
that.
She really needed that. And so she literally would not have won the season without that.
And there was 2 instances of that. I mean, there was Saul giving her
She got
safety
lucky.
without
Yes,
power.
she got really lucky with that. But I'm talking specifically about a challenge where
She had a little
like the
control over
auction,
it.
she didn't have to fight like she had money. I think they actually did have to go out and get something to collect money. Am I remembering that
Yes,
right?
they had to collect like money within the
They had to
forest.
find something.
And I think Andy got like $0. Oh
Yeah.
no. It was the guy who was like, I'm famous for being on the last season, and he like busted his head open.
Yeah.
That guy got like $0, I think.
And Rachel got enough to get the burger and fries, and she ended up getting herself an idol.
And no one bid on it because it was like it's burger and fries.
I think it was a mystery item.
Oh, maybe it was that. But I just remember nobody bidding on it.
Yeah, and she ended up like winning the game because of that.
Yeah, and I feel like there was a lot more. I think even that season she wanted immunity. There were a lot more.
Yeah, she ended up winning a lot at the end, actually.
There was a lot more instances where it was a possibility, whereas like I would say she's a similar frame, maybe a little thinner and like scrawnier than Mary. Or I'm sorry, Mary is a little scrawnier than Rachel. Although I would put them in the same weight class, but I would say Mary this season had 0 chance of ever winning any of these challenges. They were just like, there's no way. Mm-hmm. It's just physically not possible.
I don't think Mary was very good at challenges anyway.
She wasn't great, but I
don't remember seeing her.
A lot of them were just like so strength built, and then whenever it was like, oh, we're doing a puzzle or we're doing something else, like she also wasn't fantastic at it. But you know, at least she didn't have like, I would say, equal playing ground with a lot of these other people where it's always like in the top 3 of these challenges: Kyle, Joe, and David when he was around, Eva, and Shaheen.
The showdown came down between Shaheen and Kyle, and it really didn't take long for Kyle to fall and Shaheen won.
And Shaheen kept saying that he had like a cyst in his arm or his wrist or something.
In his wrist.
Specific cyst, I forget what it's called. Put it up on screen. But he just kept whining about it. I'm like, oh my god.
He was whining the entire time.
I feel like this is like.
But a letter from his mom was motivating him to win. So he won.
And you know what? I gotta say, I was really expecting him to pick Eva. He got to pick 2 people, and he picked David and Kyle.
No, he picked Joe and Kyle.
I'm sorry, he picked Joe and Kyle. And
that was very much a problem for Mitch.
Well, first of all, let's talk about. No, I guess we can talk about Mitch. So Mitch.
Well, okay, yeah. Let's talk about them like going to the sanctuary.
Yeah.
So they got to read their letters from home. They ate like burgers. I think I didn't even write down what they were eating because it wasn't very interesting.
It was burgers, fries, soda, beer, and like cake. Pretty basic.
Yeah. So they got to sleep there. They got to read their letters, and they just bonded more over their stuff.
Joe got a letter from his kid. I would assume maybe like
his 10-year-old son.
Yeah, I would assume like maybe 6 to like 10.
No, I think he said he was 10.
He's 10 because it was like in crayons, and there was like drawings of stick figures and stuff like that. Which I took a glance at it. Not gonna lie, if I was on this season and like I got a letter from my daughter and it was like that, and what the kid was saying, oh man, I don't know. I don't think I could like continue with the show. That would be too much.
Like you would say, send me home now?
Yeah, it'd be, well, I don't know about that.
Even if she was like, stay and win.
No, I mean, I would obviously stay and win because it's less than a month at this point.
Yeah.
So it's not like that you're that far away or you're gone for that long.
You're far away, but.
Well, you're far away, but you're not gone for that long, like you used to be.
Yeah.
But still, I was like, damn, that is really rough to read, like as a parent. And both Kyle and Shaheen look, and I think Shaheen cries. right?
I think he thought it was really sweet.
I think he tears up a little
What
bit.
Shaheen cries about was Kyle's letter.
Yeah.
Kyle got a letter from his dad, and he was just reading about his dad saying he's so proud of him. And
he's saying that he's reading words that he's never heard from his father before.
Yeah, never ever said anything like that.
Yeah.
And Shaheen starts crying. And then Joe says how lucky he is to still have his dad because they both lost their dad.
Yeah.
And then it goes more into loss, and we get to Joe's sister. It's kind of there.
I know. Well, no, he doesn't talk about it there, does he?
I think he does.
Does he?
It's first brought up.
I don't want to talk about it until we actually have to talk about it when he's on the beach.
Well, this was when it was mentioned first.
Okay.
He lost his sister. I won't go into detail, but he lost his sister, and he talks about that story a little bit.
He talks about it, and there's a whole segment about it. We'll get into it.
And they're just like sitting there crying together and bonding.
But I said this as we were watching the episode. If I'm Kyle and Shaheen and I'm looking at this letter, I'm like, he's got to go.
He's got to go.
He's got to go. There's no other option except for he's got to go.
Yeah.
Because... And especially after, I mean, again, we'll talk about his sister, but like with what he says about his sister and his like motivation for being here, it's like, bro, you've got to go because he's 100% bringing it up on trial.
Mm-hmm.
Tribal, not trial. So then we get back to, well, I guess
camp. we can talk about that.
I guess, but we should also mention Shaheen's letters from his mom, I think.
I didn't write anything.
It's not that important. I just wanted to mention it. And he doesn't cry about her letter.
I think he did.
No, I don't think so, because I mentioned it when we were watching it. Like,
they were all a bunch of ballin' boys.
Well, he was crying more about Kyle's dad than he was about his own mom.
Yeah, he was crying more.
I just thought that was interesting. But yeah, he gets a letter from his mom. Kyle gets a letter from his dad, and Joe gets a letter from his kid.
They get several letters. It's not just one.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, so they only show one?
They only show one.
I do kind of wonder what Mitch's letter would have been.
We won't know.
We'll never know. I also did wonder, because I mentioned this when we were watching it, I wonder if...
They get them after.
Yeah, because they have to write them, and like they don't know who's going to win. So
on the On Fire podcast, Jeff said that he gives them... They usually give them after the season is over, or sometimes even when they are voted off.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
I thought they might have been like, you guys lost, sorry, we're going to burn them or something like that. That would have been fucked up, but that's cool.
So we get them back at camp after the three boys are off rewarding, and Mitch is bitching like a freaking diva about Shaheen choosing Joe and feeding the enemy, feeding the biggest competitor on the island. How dare he choose Joe? He was just so upset.
It's like, bro, you are not on this alliance. Like, you should know better at this point, but he doesn't. He just thinks that he is homies with everybody and that he deserves the reward as much as, Joe does, when it's like, bro, you're not as tight with Joe as Shaheen is.
I think I think he really did not take into account like their connection. Yeah. Because all he was thinking about was Shaheen is supposed to be helping us take Joe out.
And it's like, episode. You guys have literally never talked about gameplay to each other at all. At least
we haven't seen it.
Yeah, at least they've never shown it. And like the most they've done is like they've had like obvious photos where like Shaheen is talking to Joe and Mitch, and they're like, we're obviously getting rid of Star, right? That's what they talk about. Shaheen and Kyle have never ever talked about Shaheen and Mitch have never ever talked about getting somebody from the Core 4 Alliance out.
No.
He's never talked about getting Kyle out or Joe or Eva. Like, there's no connection outside of like this general, like, I guess, respect for each other for being on the same island. Yeah. But like, they're not boys.
Not in an alliance.
Yeah, they're not as tight as they think he is. Especially, I always felt that was weird when Kyle picked somebody else and Mitch was like, oh my God, I thought he loved me. And I thought we were so close. How could he not choose me?
Yeah.
And it's like, we've never even seen footage of you guys that close to each other. So like, why are you so surprised?
I think that all of them feel close to each other though. But I don't think that Mitch is realizing the bonds that the other four are having. Like
Yeah.
he just doesn't even see it.
And I think it's a problem with the editing is that they're not showing enough of like Mitch. Like at this point, Mitch is kind of taking the role of Star, where he's like, he doesn't speak unless spoken to.
Kind of.
Like we never see his confessionals. We never see him talking unless he's being talked to.
I don't know if that's true.
Within the first episode, like he talks like about now is the time to make a move. Like he says that.
He's always saying that.
He's always
been
saying that
for the last.
He says it every episode, but I'm just saying, like, I feel like every episode starts with Mitch saying, "All right, now that we're at final 6, now is the time to make a move." And then last episode, now that we're at final 7,
it's really quite annoying to see him making the same point every episode and doing absolutely nothing about it.
Yeah.
But the other thing that Mitch ended up saying, he was bitching to Camilla about feeding Joe, and he was like, "I'm working with a bunch of knuckleheads," and he walks off. Yeah. And Camilla's like, "Okay."
Well, yeah, because it's like, I mean, I get where Mitch is coming from. Like, yeah, obviously you don't want to fuel.
He's not realizing that he is the biggest knucklehead of them all.
Yeah, and it's like, if you didn't want Joe to be fed, vote him out. Vote him out. You had so many opportunities.
The biggest thing is that he had the opportunity to get numbers against Joe. He just didn't. He didn't trust Star to do that. He called her a joke.
Yeah.
And it's just like, dude, you're the fucking joke. Like,
and it's like, you guys all did this to yourself. You voted out, well, I guess you didn't vote out Thomas, but you voted out Charity. You voted out Say. You voted out all these people that were trying to make plays. And then now you're stuck with this alliance of loyalty.
You know, that's actually literally what they've done this season is vote out all the strategists that are too obvious and have left all of the strong people.
This show was this season was the most entertaining in the first half when we had Charity. Or I'm sorry, not Charity.
It wasn't even that entertaining. I still was frustrated with it.
It was not. Yeah, that's true. I will say, but though, like, Say was adding more depth within the game than anyone on this entire season.
I want to Say out from the episode 1.
I know, but I'm saying that there was more depth. There was more like stakes on, to be had. Like, I feel like now.
I think you're forgetting that we saw the Team Vula lose time and time again.
I guess, but she was still being.
That's the only reason why she was interesting was because she was on the losing team, and she had so much screen time.
I guess that's
that
true.
We got to know her more.
But even like when they got to the little merge where they swapped up the teams, I think she was still really interesting to follow, and I think the most interesting person to follow because she had the most conflict going on and the most like thought put into the game. I think another person that had that much depth to them was it Charity? The one that's kind of like snarky?
Charity? The one that Eva called fake?
Yes, her. You know she's a Republican?
Oof. Anyways.
But what I'm saying is that like Charity is somebody who was strategizing against Eva and they got wind of it and they voted her ass out. And then same with Say, she was causing chaos, voted her out. I would say Thomas was kind of like he was kind of like a stray bullet. Like he was not meant to be taken out when he was just kind of like collateral. Wasn't. He was like collateral damage. Like they really should have gotten Joe out.
Yeah, Kyle and Camilla, they really made a wrong choice there on who they targeted.
Yeah.
So when they showed them back at the beach, Eva literally just like walks off, doesn't even talk to Mitch and Eva.
She's like Camilla. Sitting at a rock or something.
She walks off to the beach by herself and she's just like sitting there like
kind of pouting.
My boys are back at the sanctuary.
Yeah.
They better cheers for me while they drink a beer.
Which they don't.
Yeah, they didn't even talk about her.
Yeah.
Except for when Shaheen brought up we should get Eva out.
You know what's funny? Something we also should mention during the challenge. They have like an audio clip of like a stomach rumbling, and then Eva says, "Sorry guys, that's my stomach. Hungry. That's my stomach rumbling. If you guys can hear that." And it's like, are you serious right now? Like you've eaten every
single reward
every day of the week. You've had burgers and sushi and like anything you could possibly want. And she's like, "Sorry guys, I'm just so hungry." I fucking hate Eva.
I can't stand her, and that attitude. She literally called Mitch and Camilla the parents. And she felt like so left out.
And she said I can see why they chose me to stay, so I could babysit.
So I can babysit them.
Which she's not
even
doing.
though she's literally sitting on the beach away from them.
Although there's no point of her babysitting because there's nothing that
that's
Kyle...
not why you were left behind either.
Yeah, because there's nothing Kyle and Mitch can do, especially Mitch. He's literally useless.
So then we go back to the boys at the sanctuary, and this is where Shaheen finally breaks this game of chicken, which was mentioned earlier in the episode between Kyle and Shaheen. And obviously Kyle's been like waiting for Shaheen to mention taking one of the four out.
We should also mention Joe tells Shaheen
that's true
that he wants to go to the end with Shaheen and Eva.
Yeah, and he says that we're the three.
Yeah, we're the three, and Kyle's the fourth.
Yeah, so
which is the first time he's ever said that.
I think that was the first time.
And it's kind of crazy because it seems like he has a better relationship with Kyle than he does Shaheen. I think
he's told Kyle the same thing.
He might have, but like, again, we've just seen more screen time between Kyle and Joe, and they just seem to have a better bond.
I swear he said that to Kyle before.
Yeah.
So that right there is like, Joe, you're not as honest as you think you are.
Mm-hmm.
And it was interesting to see that conversation happen first. And then for some reason they were like going off, and they had a moment for Joe and Shaheen to talk together. And then Joe left, and it was a moment for Shaheen and Kyle to talk together. And that's where Shaheen brought up, we need to go after Eva. And I'm ready to turn on that.
Even though we did hear last episode, Eva says, I'm playing my idol no matter what. And she said, if I win, then Joe gets my idol. And spoilers, she does not play her idol. She doesn't
play her idol. Joe won the immunity. And so, where do I even begin?
Well, we should mention that
I honestly didn't even take very many notes.
Before the challenge, Camilla and Kyle hatch up this plan to frame Shaheen, which is something they said like 3 episodes or 4 episodes ago. They said we're literally gonna frame Shaheen, and then they say it again this episode. And they said we just kind of hinges on making Kyle. Oh my god, making Joe paranoid, which they do end up doing. And this is something I feel like I gotta mention at this point. Every single episode, it is mentioned. Whenever Kyle and Camilla are about to have a conversation, they always have to mention, oh my god, we are so good at this game because nobody knows that we are secretly duos. Every single conversation.
I do think that's a fair point, though, but they do have to say it.
They say it every single time they talk to each other. They're
I think I'm not going to hate on that because
I'm hating.
I think that in this game specifically, it's probably a good idea to reassure the other person of that all the time, especially when you're in this.
They don't say it to each other, though. They say it in confessionals.
Alliance. They do say it to each
other.
They
say it to each other sometimes, but they say it mostly.
They say it to each other a lot.
Well, that I feel like I hear it more in confessionals. Like they're always reiterating, like, "Oh my God, we're so good because nobody knows that we're so tight."
I will say that's like the first time we've seen that, though. So I think it is important to. I think it's fine that it is brought up so often.
It's annoying. Like, we get it.
Okay, but Joe and Eva are even more annoying.
Well, they're at least public about it.
Duo.
And they're never talking about, like...
Because they don't need to.
Neither does Kyle and Camilla.
They actually do talk about it, though.
Not as much.
But I think it's important that it's said that Kyle and Camilla are
every single time they interact with each other. Every single time they interact. And that's also not true. They're not the first secret duo.
Yes, they are.
The first secret duo of
all.
They
said it on the On Fire podcast. Okay. Rachel said this is the first time we've seen it.
I feel like that's not true. There's no way out of 48 seasons that they're the first duo to be secret. You're telling me throughout this entire 48 seasons, nobody has been like, you know what, we should have a secret duo.
I cannot think of a single duo that was.
That's because you have the memory of a fish and you can't even remember the last season.
Literally listened to On Fire podcast where Rachel, who was the winner of last season, said this was the first time it's happened.
Oh, okay. Well, if Rachel said it, then it must be true.
You think that they would have kept that in if it wasn't true?
I don't know, but I don't. I guess it's true, but I'm just so annoyed. I think it's also because I'm growing more annoyed about their alliance because they're just not making the right moves. They're not making moves in general, and then whenever they do make a move, it's not the right move.
So Kyle comes back from Shaheen, that conversation with Shaheen, and he tells Camilla that Shaheen wants to go after Eva. But what Kyle wants to do is tell Joe that Shaheen is flipped, and what he's going to tell him is that Camilla knows that Shaheen has an idol because Shaheen showed Camilla he has an idol. So then he was like, we won't have to get our hands dirty. We're just going to throw Shaheen under the bus like that. And Camilla is like basically automatically on board for it. Doesn't even really think about it. And when you first hear about it, I was like, how is this really the best plan right now? But they move forward with it. And then they actually have that moment. I think it was before the immunity that Joe has that moment talking to his sister on the beach. Do you want to talk about that?
I don't, but we have to.
Do we have to?
Well, I feel like it's important to the context of how I think it's going to play out within the final tribal, which I think he's going to make it to.
I will say that reading on Reddit, somebody said that wasn't actually the first time he mentioned it to the rest of the players. I guess his story with his sister was mentioned much earlier, like the moment they set their foot on the beach as all of the survivors. Like he introduced himself basically with that story. So I think that is an important piece of information that the editing left out for us as an audience. Yeah. Because this is the first time we're hearing about
and because everyone's always saying Joe has such a great story.
Yeah.
And it's like, I've always been like, what is the story? Like, what's so good about it? And
Kyle's talking about these bonds, like these intimate conversations that they've had, and like these really emotional bonds that they've made. And so this is starting to make more sense, like where Kyle is coming from, because Joe is actually like trying to bring attention to something bigger than the game, which is domestic violence. And I can definitely appreciate and respect Joe for trying to talk about that. I think that moment of him talking to his sister on the beach, who has passed away because of her, what's he called him, a monster, her husband maybe, was very like, is this appropriate for national television?
Well, I just think it's so like theatric.
It felt very theatrical.
Even though he couldn't shed a tear.
You know, I've been wanting to say that about Joe, and I don't remember every single episode. A lot of people are calling him an emotional guy. I don't know that I agree with that. Like, maybe some sort of emotion, but I respect a guy that can actually like cry and let tears roll down his face.
Oh yeah, you can?
I know somebody who does that quite often.
I'm about to cry right now. I was like, you know what? I sympathize a lot with Joe. There's been a lot of domestic violence within my life, like not specifically towards me, but I've seen it with a lot within family and friends, like, and it's very prevalent within just like the world. Like you probably know somebody who's gone through it. It is such an important story that needs to be told. Does it need to be told on Survivor? I don't think so. Does it need to be told by somebody like Joe, who is trying to shed a tear and he can't, and he's on a beach where he's like monologuing to himself, when it's like, it just feels so corny, and
it felt like just not the right.
And it made me think, I've always been wondering, like, what did the producers see in Joe where they casted him?
That he talked about that story.
And I feel like on his audition, he must have said,
I think he did.
Because he says it on the beach. He says, my whole reasoning for being here was because of my sister. She was a bigger fan than me.
She had applied or something.
And she wanted to be on the show herself. Yeah. So I wanted to come on the show and I wanted to tell her story. He 100% said that on his audition. And Jeff was like salivating at the mouth, money on his eyes, like he's fucking Scrooge McDuck. And he's like, yeah, that's the type of TV I'm trying to bring. And like, I I'm so cynical about it at this point because that's how I feel like Jeff is going into.
I do feel like Jeff is getting to that
more
place.
producer brain rot, and like he is just seeing like somebody like Joe who has this story and he's like, yes.
Although Jeff still thinks that he's got a genuine bone in his body about it, but I don't know that I have seen that this season.
I will say I saw something today or yesterday that redeemed Jeff in my eyes. I saw his top 4 on Letterboxd. Letterboxd is a series where they interview somebody with their 4 favorite movies, and one of his favorite movies is Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, which is like peak cinematic film knowledge. And this is totally off tangent, but I had to bring it up.
Okay.
I wouldn't feel right if I didn't bring it up.
Well, we're talking about Survivor, so back to Survivor.
I feel like I had to bring it up. But anyway, as I was saying, I think this moment on the beach was very played up. I don't think many people talk to themselves like the way Joe does, and I feel like it felt really directed.
I will say that on the On Fire podcast,
okay,
which is why it's a mistake to listen to it before filming. I felt like they made a good point where Rachel is talking about on the island, you are away from everything that you normally have to distract yourself. So you don't have your phone, you don't have screens, you don't have other people. You have a lot of alone time to think to yourself. And so it is a good time to think through these things, and you kind of have to, because you're left alone with your thoughts. So unless you're like sitting there scheming with somebody with your alliance, you're sitting there in your own thoughts. So it is fair to say that maybe finally Joe felt like this is the time I can start this like healing process. But I still feel like, did we need to do this for national television? Like, couldn't he have said, this is actually a private moment that I want to have with my sister?
Also, like I said, I think it's going to be brought up in Final Tribal if he makes it, which I think he very much will. And he will bring up his sister, and everybody will cry, and everybody will be like, yes, please give him $1 million. It's such a heartwarming story. And I think that's fine.
I'm not really sure why he deserves $1 million for that story.
I don't
think he does.
But I think, you know what, if you want to give it to him, sure, because I think he has played the best game so far. I think within this season, obviously if he was on another season where there's actual game players that weren't voted out immediately, he wouldn't have made it this far.
He's won challenge after challenge.
Yeah.
But as far as gameplay, I think that's where Kyle and Camilla's play is actually so smart. Because yes, we're hesitating that it's a good move because we don't see how it's going to play out just yet. But I will say, I immediately thought, like, this is actually so good to cut down Joe and Eva's game. Their resume has been this whole time, we are honest and have integrity. And Kyle and Camilla convinced them to vote out Shaheen, who was supposedly
their alliance,
their
number third
person. So Kyle can sit there in Final 3, because I doubt it's going to be Camilla, and say, I did this. And I think, and they are not honest. They don't have integrity.
I think somebody like a Chrissy will appreciate the move. I think somebody like a Mary will appreciate the move. I think
Chrissy, Cedric, Mary, David won't.
But I think David will be like, if
Camilla's sitting over there, that's already almost half of
the vote. Which I should say, David has already been on record. He's told like news publications that he feels like Joe backstabbed him. So I don't think he's going to vote for Joe either way. But also, if Kyle makes it and he says Joe backstabbed Shaheen, then David's going to be like, oh, that's another guy, or that's another person that got backstabbed by Joe, who backstabbed me. So I'm not voting for Joe. He's a fucking filthy liar. I'm voting for Kyle, who, like, even though he did backstab us, he was at least playing the game from the start.
I don't know. I think David is one of the more, like,
he's bitter.
I have no idea which way David is going to swing.
Yeah.
Absolutely no idea. I think that he would actually vote for Mitch if Mitch is sitting in the final 3.
Which he should. God. I feel like Mitch is gonna make it to the final 3. I don't know how, but I feel like he is. And honestly, I kind of want him to because I got to hear his pitch. I got to hear it.
He has absolutely nothing.
He's like, what is he possibly gonna say?
The funny thing is, he's gonna sit there and say he played the best game because he literally just said,
my God,
he's playing this game with knuckleheads, and he's probably gonna be like, I've been wanting to make a move this whole time, and I haven't been able to because they're all shitty players.
Something I see a trend of a lot, like when a player gets voted out, they'll go on Twitter that same night or the next day. I'm gonna be like, oh my God, I had the time of my life. Survivor is the best experience of my life. I wouldn't change a single thing. If you say that and you lost, you did not play Survivor. You should be up at night every single day of your life being like, I should have done this, I should have done that. Like, you should never be like,
I don't think that's healthy.
It's not, but that's how you should feel. And I feel like somebody like, I think I'm saying this because Shaheen said something like that. And I feel like Shaheen, there are so many things he could have done differently. And I feel like Mitch is going to be the type of person who I think has already said something like that already. I feel like he's going to be like, I wouldn't change a single thing I did, even though there's so many opportunities he had that he just didn't take because he's fucking trash at this game.
I just think you can't really sit there and think about all these things. And I mean, there are people in past seasons that I think I would, because I think they got voted out in the last 4 or something.
Yeah.
And it was just like so close. It should have gone the other way. And actually, I think there was one season where Jeff was like, if this person was in the final, would you have voted for them? And like everybody raised their hand. And I was just like, Jeff, how the fuck could you do that to me?
Oh, there was actually one example that I can think of, which is when they had that one really weird season where they had like a redemption island where like you get voted out and you're on this redemption island and you get a challenge to get back into the game. Mm-hmm. And you know who I'm talking about, who won? He actually won the challenge as well.
Who was it?
I don't remember his name, but he basically got eliminated right away and he was on this island. Mm-hmm. And then he ended up winning the whole thing. Oh, and he put himself into fire to beat the guy who was the runner-up.
Okay, did he end up being on the challenge again?
No, he only did one season of the challenge and he fucking won. And he wiped everybody.
That was the guy, right?
Yeah. He got thrown in every single elimination and he won every single time with a smile on his face.
Earned the challenge so hard. Yeah. He also earned Survivor.
Yeah. Because he threw himself into fire and he beat the guy who was like the runner-up and the guy that everybody was looking at as like the person who's going to win.
Honestly, I don't think that guy gets enough accolades.
No, yeah, like, that guy, he's a sleeper.
I think it was also, I developed so much respect for him, especially with his challenge season, because he literally beat every single person.
Yeah, he got thrown in time and time again.
It was so crazy. It was pretty cool to watch.
Yeah.
But I don't remember his name.
I don't remember his name. He was a very basic guy. He was like the thing I like about him is he always had a smile on his face. He was never like, I fuck you guys for throwing me in. Like, I hate you. He was always like, all right, cool. Send him the next guy.
Bring it on.
Yeah. So I think that was a prime example of somebody who was like, who beat the runner up and who was like basically the face of the show. Cause he never got eliminated. He was like he had the most screen time. Where were we before that?
Joe talking on the beach. So after that was the immunity challenge where Joe wins. I really didn't take many notes because it wasn't very interesting. And after Joe wins, then we're back on at camp with the plan of getting Shaheen out. So we go on this like thing of getting Joe and Eva to believe it. It actually just started with Kyle talking to Joe saying that Shaheen has flipped, and then Joe goes to talk to Eva first, right? Mm-hmm. And then Joe talks to Camilla, and Camilla confirms that she saw the idol.
Well, and Joe is in his confessionals. He has like 3 or 4 where he
does immediately clock that it's bullshit.
Yeah, he's like, I don't know if they're fucking with me or if they're just trying to like get me to turn on Shaheen.
Yeah.
He's like questioning it, and it's kind of like led to believe like he's gonna figure it out, but he doesn't.
He really doesn't.
They're really like banking on the fact that Joe is just so unwilling to confront Shaheen. Mm-hmm. Like he kind of confronts him by being like, yo, bro, what's going on? Like, I feel like there's something happening. And then Shaheen's like, what the fuck are you talking about?
Like, are there any other plays?
Yeah,
happening?
He's like, is there anything else that, or
if
no?
I didn't win immunity, what would be the play?
Well, and he also said, are there any other, like, he didn't say specifically advantages, but are there any other, like, things at play?
Yeah.
And then Shaheen's like, you mean advantages or idols? And he's like, I don't know. He's like, well, I don't have any.
Literally in his confessional, he was saying, like, you feel like your kid has put his hand in the cookie jar, and you have to figure out if he did.
Yeah, and it's like,
and then Shaheen, it shows Shaheen saying, I don't like being treated like a child.
Yeah, and he's like, he's also really fucking confused because it's like, because he's like, what are you talking about? Why are you acting like this?
And actually, on the On Fire podcast, I guess the phrase is piss in my pancakes.
Yeah, and he said, did I shit on your pancakes? Yeah.
It's piss.
Well, he says shit.
Does he?
He says, did I shit on your...
Or can they say piss on...
No, I think Survivor. He said shit. I think, did somebody shit on your pancakes? I think is what he says.
I think it's piss in your pancakes.
Well, that's the same, but I think... Well, also, it's did somebody piss in your cereal is the same. It's not pancakes.
I've never heard any of these.
You've never heard somebody say, did somebody piss
I've heard piss in your cereal.
Yeah.
But
it's always Frosted Flakes is what I heard. Did somebody piss on your Frosted Flakes?
So I originally thought it was shit in your pancakes. And then on the On Fire podcast, the guy said, piss in your pancakes.
Well, what Shaheen says is shit on your pancakes.
You think so?
I think so.
We don't know, could be wrong. They bleeped it. Yeah. I don't know if you can say piss on
I think NBC. You can say piss.
Well, I don't know. But it was just funny. Because Shaheen was like, Joe, you're acting like a shit in your pancakes. Like, what is going on?
Yeah, and he's like, I don't know, bro. I just, streets are saying something.
I didn't do anything wrong.
Yeah, he's like, I don't know, bro. And it's like, Joe, just fucking ask him. Like, do you have an idol? Let me go through your bag. Like, how hard is it to be like, because he goes on this hunch that he thinks Shaheen is lying to him. And it's like, bro, you could just fucking ask him.
But I think that you're discounting the fact that it's very like wishy-washy to accuse somebody in your alliance of something like that. Like, once you do that, then what?
Then you'd be like, Kyle told me that you have an idol. And then Shaheen could be like, that dirty weasel fuck, I don't have an idol. Like, why the fuck is he spreading this rumor?
I think it just complicates it even more.
No, it doesn't.
I really do. I think
if I was Shaheen, I'd be like, this fucking liar is lying about me.
So then, okay, so if Shaheen says that Kyle was lying, which he kind of wasn't.
He doesn't have an idol? What are you talking about?
Okay, so what Kyle said was that Shaheen is flipping.
Yes.
And he showed an idol to Camilla.
But Shaheen
So yes, we as the audience know that Kyle and Camilla concocted this plan. But on the island, Kyle isn't necessarily lying, because then it could be Camilla that is just seen as a liar.
Well, first of all,
if it is found out that Shaheen doesn't have the idol.
Well, first of all, Kyle is flipped. Shaheen can be like, Kyle is the one who actually told me that he's trying to flip.
They've both flipped.
That's what I'm saying. Shaheen can be like, he's actually the one that flipped, and he's lying about this idol. I don't have an idol. You can fucking cavity check me because...
So play that out. If he said, Kyle's lying, I don't have an idol.
Yes.
Then Shaheen has to prove he doesn't have an idol.
Yeah, I'm sure he would. He'd be like, check my asshole. It's not in there.
So then Joe has to trust Shaheen.
Yes.
In the end, he has to trust Shaheen. So he still has to turn his trust on one or the other.
Yes. But he doesn't even give Shaheen the option. He just goes on a hunch.
Do you remember in other seasons where something like this has happened? Where somebody makes a lie, makes a pitch, they come up with this lie, and because they came up with the lie, you don't know who the fuck is telling the truth. Obviously, one person is telling the truth.
But he didn't even give Shaheen the chance to be like, yo, this is just factually not true.
Well, he didn't need to.
Yeah, he did.
He chose to follow Kyle's
He got played.
Yeah, he did.
So to avoid getting played, he could have been like, yo, check every single crevice of my body, which he would have liked, because like there's literally no idol. I don't have it. Check anywhere you want. I don't have an idol.
Yeah.
And that the fact that he's lying about the idol alone means that he's willing to lie about him flipping. So he can be like, the fact that I don't even have an idol means that Kyle is a fucking liar, and that he's lying that I flipped. I have not flipped. Because there's no evidence that he's flipped. He's just going off a hunch or off of what Kyle has said.
Yeah.
I just think Joe's fucking idiot. Is just dumb.
Well, okay, so I think that Kyle should have come back and said, like, let's get Eva out.
I think that should have been the plan from the jump.
Eva should have been the one to get out.
Yeah.
But anyways, it worked, and Joe is sitting in tribal, like, not even listening. They show
This is so weird.
They show Joe just like sitting there, like staring off, like,
yeah, and he's like looking at him like
intensely.
Yeah.
And they're just like reading his mind. Like, he is just,
well, the way
who do I trust here?
The way they've edited it is like Shaheen is talking, and it's just a close up on Joe looking like this,
and it's like
it's
echoing, and you're not really hearing.
Yeah, like the audio gets like
drawn
out, and then there's like, it kind of feels like, because the audio is going away, like your ears ringing, like that's how it feels.
Yeah.
And they've never done that with
They've
Tribal.
never done that before.
It's like very theatrical, and like,
it's very Joe centric.
Yeah. It's like, why are we making this decision to do that? I think it's funny, but it
was funny. It was definitely the
but it
very
kind of
first
lessens,
time I've seen anything like that.
It lessens the like seriousness,
the legitimacy of Tribal.
Yeah, like the seriousness of like the situation.
I have mixed feelings on
that. I think
that.
it's a funny gag, but it's if they keep
it
going
really
down that route,
be the norm.
Yeah, it should be unbiased.
Yeah, because that just shows how biased the editing is towards Eva and Joe.
So
excuse me.
Again, a bunch of bullshit is just set at Tribal, and Jeff is...
Well, Joe ultimately decides that Kyle is the person that he can trust.
Yeah, and Jeff actually mentioned something. He says, like, so is anyone worried about like idols being played?
I think that it's you think that's weird that he said
I think it's weird.
But in every other season of Survivor, the 6 is the last time an idol can be played.
Mm-hmm.
And we have not seen an idol played since Kyle.
Yes. Which is so funny that Eva gets both of these advantages and she doesn't
play either one of them.
And it's so funny that she takes it from Star, and Star really desperately needed it. And she basically takes it so that she can't use it, and then she gets voted out. Fucking Eva. I hate her.
I'm not a fan of Eva. Anyways,
Shaheen gets voted out.
Shaheen gets voted out. I'm sad that Shaheen is voted out.
I think Shaheen is cringe. I think he is trying a little too much to be funny with him.
I'm just saying,
with him
I'm
talking
sad
to Jeff.
that Shaheen got voted out before Eva.
Wait, hold up. I think he tries a little too much to be funny around Jeff, but I do like that he is very much himself, and I feel like I liked him more as a person. I feel like within the game and outside of the game than I do somebody like a Jeff or an Eva. I'm sorry, like a Joe or an Eva or Mitch. I think he had a lot more charm to him than pretty much everyone on the season. And I think the show is going to be a lot more dull without him. And I feel sad for him because he got blindsided by
his own alliance.
By his own alliance for no good reason. There was really no reason to frame him.
Yeah. Yeah.
He was not the enemy. He was not the threat. Even though he kept saying, I'm the biggest threat on the island.
He really
Nobody
wasn't.
wants to be in a final with me. And it's like, bro, you're not him. You're not the guy that everybody's targeting. For some reason, they do target you. I don't know why, because they can't go for Joe.
I think that he would have at least been second if it
was Kyle, Joe, and Shaheen, he's third. He's the GOAT. I don't think he's getting a single vote.
Joe, Eva, and Shaheen.
Joe, Eva, and Shaheen.
I really don't think that Eva's getting any votes.
Yeah, I don't think so. But I mean, still, he's not beating Kyle. He's not beating Joe. He's maybe beating Mitch, even though I think, because like Shaheen also didn't do anything. He just formed an alliance that basically carried him, and he didn't do anything within the alliance besides vote with them. He never said,
Wasn't
"Hey."
He kind of like the guy that got Say voted out.
No,
she was an easy one.
Everybody wanted to Say out, so no.
Who was he talking about? He was planting seeds on Mary.
Oh, David? He did. They showed like a clip of him planting seeds about somebody. It might have been David.
I think it was David.
Which, if he wants to take credit for that, sure. I think that can maybe work for him at Tribal or the final Tribal. But either way, he was not a threat. He was not the guy that needed to be out. it needed to be Eva to knock down Joe, because he is the ultimate threat. If you don't get Joe out, you lose. Nobody beats him, I don't think, at this point.
I think
Kyle has the best shot, but I still
Kyle
don't think he's going to beat him.
I think Kyle for sure has the best shot. Maybe Camilla, if she's the only one out there, not Kyle.
I feel like Camilla has been like, yeah, she's been doing a lot of like moves behind the scenes, but so many people are going to be like, oh, Camilla, like she wasn't even on my radar. And like she's going to have to say so much at Tribal because
if
people are going to be like, you were just brought at the end.
Then she would get it.
She's basically
do you remember Marianne?
Marianne, I do remember the name. I don't remember what she looks like.
There was a player named Marianne who had a really big smile, and she was kind of crazy. But at the end, she explained how she got herself to Final 3 by using like so many different tactics. I only remember this because she came up on Reddit and I rewatched her
clips.
Tribal. And the way that she like explained it
was just
so. It literally convinced every single person there to vote for her.
Did she win?
Yeah, she won.
Marianne. I'm thinking of oh, she won?
She won.
Oh. I think that might have been before I was watching.
Maybe.
But she does look familiar.
She was so good. I mean, just like her final speech literally won her the game.
I've seen that a couple times, but I mean, yeah, you would really have to like show all out. I think the closest we saw last season was the runner-up. Who was the guy that went against Rachel? Sam. He had a really good Tribal. I think he had a better Tribal argument than Rachel. She just had a better resume. But he had a really good point. Like he was really selling himself.
He did good, but Rachel won. She deserved it.
She just had the better season, but. Yeah, that's the episode. Shaheen gets voted out. Like I said, a play was made. I'm happy that a play was made. Something actually happened, but I just think it was the wrong person.
I really don't know like where it's gonna go because it's very likely that Joe is probably going to win
the whole thing.
Individual immunity.
Well, yeah, that too.
I'm just talking about like the very next moves because we'll have individual immunity for 5. So then one person will be voted out. So if Joe gets immunity.
Well, here's the thing. If Joe doesn't get immunity, and let's say Eva gets immunity, if Mitch is not brain dead, which he kind of is, he can be like, well,
he could vote with
Kyle, Camilla, and he'd be like, yo, let's get Joe out. Perfect time. He's out.
Yeah.
There's nothing they can do. Eva can vote as much as she wants. She has no idol. She has no advantage.
Has nothing, yeah.
Joe can vote as much as he wants. He can do nothing. It's 3-2. I could see Mitch being like, well, he didn't take me on that reward that one time, so I don't really trust him. But if Mitch actually has a brain, he will actually vote out either Kyle or
honestly,
Joe
only one of them can win immunity. So if the 3 of them do band together to vote out either Joe or Eva, whoever doesn't win the idol, then yeah, that would be interesting. And then with the very last individual immunity, where it's the 4 of them competing.
Yeah, and it's fire.
Yeah, I think it could be interesting.
I think it could be interesting, and like I said, I think we're at a point where like the mask is off. Kyle can lie and just be like, or Kyle can finally be like, I'm betraying you because there's nothing you can do. I have Mitch on my side. He's not on your side. But then again, Mitch can be like, well, I'm more aligned with Joe.
I think that Kyle would still have to be strategic in how he handles
obviously.
Because that's 2 votes right there.
Yeah.
He still has to do jury management.
And there's still a shot in the dark. If he plays his...
No.
You can't use shot in the dark at Final 5?
No.
Really?
No.
That's bullshit.
I think actually this was the final time.
That's bullshit. You should be allowed to do that.
Everybody would do it.
At Final 3?
Actually,
4?
How has that not come into play more?
What?
Shot in the dark. I actually forgot that was a fucking advantage.
Well, somebody used them. They won, or Mary used it, and it won.
No, Mary.
She used her shot in the dark, and it got her. She got safety.
Oh, early.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, you mean like nobody's used it post merge?
Yeah.
I guess that's true. I mean, I guess Star should have used it. I mean, Star didn't use it because Mitch told her to use it. And he's like, she's like, I'm not going to say what Mitch is going to tell me to do. Fuck Mitch.
That's true.
But either way, there's something I wanted to ask you.
What?
So I've seen a debate on Twitter. You remember Ozzy?
Yes.
Challenge Beast, apparently. Mm-hmm. I don't really remember him much, but
long curly hair.
Very good at the challenges.
Good looking.
There's been a debate between who would win head to head in challenges, him or Jordan from the challenge.
Oh, Survivor challenges?
Any kind of challenges. Like, who is a better competitive beast? Obviously,
I don't think that's very fair.
It's not fair because Jordan has like multiple seasons of him competing within challenges, and Ozzy has one season of him competing within.
He has a few.
He has few?
But I think that Jordan would win because Jordan is much more trained and he is.
Well, I saw some people say like, oh, Ozzy's like a really good swimmer. And we just saw a season where
Jordan is amazing.
Jordan, this last, what was it, season 40, it was all swimming. Pretty much the final was all swimming, and he fucking smoked everybody. So he's a really good swimmer. I don't really know Ozzy's swim game, but
I think Ozzy's a good swimmer, but it's just different. It's so different. Like
it is. I saw some people saying like, "Oh, Ozzy would smoke Jordan."
No, I don't think he would.
And it's like,
do these people know Jordan?
Some people are like, I don't really know Ozzy, but I think Jordan smokes. Some people are like, oh, I don't really know.
You would have
Jordan,
to know both players.
Yeah.
And I feel like I know them pretty well. Like Ozzy was incredible. Like he really was.
Yeah.
But the challenge and Survivor challenges are so different.
Well, let's say if like there were two seasons, Jordan and Ozzy are on one season of Survivor, Jordan and Ozzy on one season of challenge. Who do you think wins the challenge? Who do you think wins the Survivor?
Jordan wins the challenge. Ozzy wins Survivor.
Is Ozzy's political game good?
Ozzy, actually, he kept getting voted out because he was so good at challenges. Okay. And I think his second season, they voted him out like pretty quick.
But was he so good politically?
Not
I think Jordan is fairly decent politically.
But on Survivor, he would not make it far because unless people just straight up didn't know how good he was. And if he hid it for a while, maybe he could make it to merge. But Jordan is a freaking beast.
That's what I'm saying though. Like with some of these Survivor challenges, I'm like, somebody like Wes or somebody like a Bananas or somebody like a Jordan would fucking dog walk on these challenges. Obviously, there's like certain.
You remember when on the challenge there's only been like one, maybe two challenges where I was like, this is similar to Survivor.
Yeah.
Because the challenges on the challenge are so completely different from Survivor challenges. And you have to take into account that they are literally surviving on an island while doing these challenges, which the challenge doesn't do.
Yeah, you're in a mansion.
Yeah. They don't do that. So Jordan has all the protein he needs.
Yeah.
He has all the food he needs.
That's true.
Jordan gets like a freaking diva if he doesn't eat. So
yeah, that's true. Well, I also think about like his eliminations. Like his eliminations are where he thrives, and like I think about like Jordan he has one arm.
I think Jordan would do decent in challenges. It's. I think that if he had to adapt to Survivor, I don't think he would ever do Survivor. I think he's too bougie.
No,
he's too bougie for that at this point. Had he started on Survivor, maybe.
I don't know. I feel like I think he would have a chance if he was on Survivor. I don't know if he would win. I think he would go further than Ozzy.
I just think you have to. I'm more realistic about these like what ifs because Jordan would just literally never do Survivor.
I suppose.
He's racing cars now.
Like, yeah. Well, I'm talking about like early young, like, rivals too.
Yeah, had
like,
he started on Survivor, I think he would have been more down to do Survivor.
Yeah.
But
I mean, he's like pushing 40 at this point. So like it's obviously very different from where he was when he was in his 20s. But I just think that
did Jordan start on a different show before the challenge?
He was on Real World, which is not, it's just a fucking reality show.
Jordan's choice of reality TV was so completely different from Survivor.
Yeah.
He could have chosen Survivor.
He could have. And I think he would have. I mean, the competitive beast that he is from season 1, or not season 1, but his first season of the challenge.
He probably wouldn't have
Is a
been
lot.
casted on Survivor. He probably wasn't interesting enough at the time.
He has one hand.
I guess he
That
doesn't
goes-
have one hand. He has a deformed hand.
Oh, I mean, he literally can't use
He
his
has
other
like
hand.
2 fingers.
He has 2 nubs. He doesn't have 2 fingers. And imagine if he had only these 2 fingers and he's constantly like this.
Well, that's how he uses it. He's like,
No, he grabs a little bit, but they're nubs. They're not fingers. And first of all, Jeff would eat that shit up.
He's a beast. Yeah, that
Nobody
would have
has.
helped him.
Nobody's ever. Has anyone like with that deformity ever applied for
No.
Survivor?
I don't know. I'm not in casting.
Well, I'm sorry, not applied, but has ever been casted on Survivor?
I don't think so.
I think somebody like Jordan could be. I mean, there's obviously certain challenges where he can't do like this, like literally the one they did.
This video is way too long.
It is, but like literally the one that they just did, he couldn't do, like where you have to hold yourself up.
Yeah.
He literally can't do that. But anyway, I just thought that was really interesting hypothetical, and I think I'm just biased towards Jordan because I love Jordan, but.
Obviously, I love Jordan. Like, he's probably my favorite. One of my favorite.
He's like top 5 for
CT
sure.
and Jordan are my favorite challengers.
They're definitely top 5 no matter what.
They're my top 3. Like, I think that Tori is my other favorite.
She's in your top 3?
Yeah.
Seriously?
Yeah.
Wow. Even after that performance
she's
last season?
really hot.
She is pretty hot. And so, I mean...
And she's also a beast.
Yeah.
I still hope one day that Tori and Jordan will get back together.
Yeah, they need to settle their differences. I don't know what happened, but they just need to get back together.
She is way hotter than whatever diner chick that Jordan is dating right now.
Yeah.
I just get back together.
But my favorite hunk is Wes. I think he is my
Wes
favorite.
went down a lot with his trader season.
Man, that was so unfortunate. I feel like he deserved much better. He was just on a terrible casting.
Also, Wes is an asshole.
Yeah, he probably could have played a little bit better. He just couldn't get his ego in check, and he...
That's the thing. And I hate Bananas. Hate him.
Yeah. Bananas is like really interesting reality star because it's like he's obviously very famous for a reason.
How did this turn into a challenge podcast?
I don't know. But like I was saying, Bananas is a very interesting specimen because he's like...
He's a professional reality TV
Yeah,
star.
he's like... I don't know. He's like such a different breed of reality star.
I suppose.
I just think he's like an anomaly, but...
I can't ever have respect for him after what he did to
No, I
Sarah.
mean with what he's done, like his background, he's such a degenerate.
Yeah. My nail time is just like ticking away.
Ariel
so
has to do her nails, and she's
one hand left.
One hand left, so don't look at her nails. We're gonna end it here. I don't think I have any predictions else past that. I just hope that Mitch.
I would like to go back to our predictions of who the final 3 would be because I believe I'm going to be correct.
Your prediction was more off of what you want, not what was gonna happen.
Except that
and it's fucking bullshit. Well, first of all, also it's fucking bullshit because that's not how it should have happened. If this was a normal season where people actually had common sense, they would not let Joe and Eva get to the final 3.
Except that's not how it works. So what I said, if that ends up happening,
but we're not basing it off of like what should have happened, like because
we can't say that in any.
If this was an analytical season where like you actually like look at the past seasons and look at how people have played and how the culture of the show has gone on, and you see how like the show has progressed and how like people actually play the game. And we get to this season where that's just thrown out the window and everybody's just doing whatever the fuck they want. And they're just talking about loyalty and all this shit. Joe and Eva would not.
So I just called it.
No, that's what you wanted because Joe and Eva, in a perfect world, or I'm sorry, not in a perfect world, in our reality, would not make it to the final 3. It just doesn't happen.
I'm just saying, and obviously you're very defensive.
Well,
about
because it's fucking bullshit.
Winning and being right.
It's bullshit. That's why.
Oh my god.
Because
I think I even said like Mitch too. Did I say Mitch?
No, you didn't say Mitch.
Did I say
you said
Camilla?
Bianca. You said Bianca.
I said Bianca.
You said Bianca because
That's
she's
true.
nothing.
That's true.
So don't
But I
even go
did say
there.
Joe and Eva.
You said Joe and Eva because you like them, and I said they're not going to make it because they're such a huge, like, public threat,
Well,
which is
where are
true.
they now? They're in
But
the
again,
5.
if we're talking about analytics and we're talking about
Mr. Your people got voted out
all right,
so quick.
good night, everybody. Where this episode's running
Yeah,
long.
you're a
Fucking
bitch.
bullshit. That's so fucking bullshit because you know I'm right.
No, you're
Yes,
not.
you do.